Do you believe that is a conflict of interest for Elon Musk to be finding cuts at the Pentagon?
Elon is the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, and if there is any agency what I have a ton of experience with in the Department of Defense with an $800 billion plus budget, it's DOD. Everything there seems to cost too much, take too long, and deliver too little to the soldier.
All right, so picture this. A confrontation so intense it leaves audiences on the edge of their seats, much like a high-stakes chess match. We're diving into a recent explosive back-and-forth exchange on NBC's Meet the Press, where Kristen Welker, well, she found herself on the other end of a fierce debate with Congressman Mike Waltz. Now, the main battleground here was all about the Pentagon's efficiency, or, the lack thereof, and the role Elon Musk might play. Welker was poking at Musk's defense contracts, wondering, and some might say cynically speculating, whether there's a bit of a conflict of interest here. But Waltz, cool as a cucumber, didn't miss a beat. He takes a firm stand, defending Musk's potential involvement as precisely the kind of shakeup the Department of Defense might desperately need. The congressman is, arguing that it's high time to put an end to the bloated costs and inefficiencies plaguing Pentagon projects. And seriously, who doesn't want reform in military spending, right? So if you're passionate about keeping America efficient and strong, if these issues get your heart racing, then hey, stick with me on this. I'd love it, really, if you'd subscribe to the channel. We've got a goal to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of February. Your support not only keeps us going, but ensures you never miss the latest in these gripping political sagas. Thanks in advance for hitting that subscribe button. All right, folks, so diving deeper into the heart of this story, what's really happening when Congressman Mike Waltz takes on Kristen Welker and her pointed questions about Elon Musk's growing influence over Pentagon reforms? It's not just a debate, it's essentially a dismantling of preconceived notions and a challenge to the status quo. See, Welker raised the alarm bells about Musk's involvement in defense contracts, suggesting that having a billionaire so deeply entrenched in military dealings might be, how do I put this, kind of a conflict of interest. She questioned how someone with so many contracts could possibly have an interest in cutting spending. But let's, pause here and think. Waltz didn't just sidestep this, he head-on tackled it. His argument is intriguing because it doesn't just gloss over the complexities. He's saying, look, the Pentagon's been a hub of inefficiency for too long. It's practically where innovation goes to die. An $800 billion budget, yet our soldiers, at times, work with outdated, overpriced equipment.
I, as a member of the House Armed Services Committee, held up a bag of bolts that would cost $100 in a hardware store that cost $90,000 to the United States Air Force. And the American people have said enough. Enough with the bloat and the waste and the debt. And when we have $1 trillion of interest in our debt that's exceeded our entire defense budget, we do need great minds and we do need business leaders to go in there and absolutely reform the Pentagon's acquisition process.
But Colonel Mike,
let that sink in. Imagine a bag of bolts that should cost $100 retail, costing the Air Force $90,000. I mean, that's not just slightly off. It's a massive black hole of waste, right? Waltz basically sees Elon Musk as a disruptor, a game changer who could potentially redefine how things work. His track record with SpaceX is touted as evidence for how private innovation can surpass public stagnation. SpaceX, for instance, has outpaced national efforts in space exploration, launching more rockets than anyone else in the world last year. That's not just impressive, it's transformative. Welker's questions, though, about the integrity of having such a powerful player so embedded are valid. Is it proper to let someone benefit from systems they are expected to cut? But Waltz isn't just talking about blind trust. He mentions the necessary firewalls, protections against any potential misuse of power. He speaks from, experience, pointing out how the bloated shipbuilding and procurement processes desperately need someone who knows how to streamline and efficiently overhaul systems. And let's not forget, as Waltz points out, it's not just about talking reform, it's about seeing it. Elon Musk, under Trump's vision, propelled America's Space Force against massive odds. Years back, China was out-launching the United States. Now, SpaceX surpasses them all. It's a smart way of kind of looking at the broader picture beyond just contracts.
To scale back USAID, essentially stepping back from countries that have long relied on American support. The former administrator of USAID under George W. Bush called it a huge mistake, adding, quote, "This assistance is one of the most powerful tools Washington has to push back against Chinese and Russian influence and to prevent transnational threats such as disease and terrorism from reaching U.S. soil." Is America basically handing China and Russia an opportunity to expand their influence on the world stage?
No, absolutely not. And in fact, Kristen, Kristen, this is exactly what President Trump, Secretary of State Rubio, Elon Musk, myself, and many others who have worked with USAID are talking about.
They're efficiency and goal-focused. In terms of government spending, Waltz isn't mincing words. He calls out the bureaucratic messes where soldiers live with subpar conditions. Yes, mold, cockroaches, but yet officials treat it like a forgotten footnote. It's not just a call for efficiency, it's a cry for accountability. And seriously, that resonates with people who've had enough of taxpayer money being squandered while officials dodge accountability. Now, Welker, perhaps sensing the energy shifting, tried to pivot to concerns about U.S. aid, moving from military spending to international aid. The old fear, fueled by others, that cutting back on aid gives our geopolitical rivals like China and Russia too much leeway to expand their global reach. Waltz came prepared, arguing that this supposed strategic aid often misses its mark. Too often, big contracts get sliced off like a turkey on Thanksgiving. Everyone gets a big piece, but the people in need hold the smallest portions.
All too often, these missions and these programs, number one, are not in line with strategic U.S. interests, like pushing back on China. They're doing all kinds of other things that, frankly, aren't in line with strategic interests or the president's vision, number one. Number two, often, all too often, only cents on the dollar actually makes it to people in need between the big contractors, the subcontractors, the local contractors. The dollars aren't being used wisely. We need to take a hard look at it. We need to move quickly. And that's exactly what's being done. And personally, I can tell you, I've worked out in the Middle East. We saw a radio station with a big Built by America USAID. We go inside, and there is literally a black turbaned mullah backed by Iran preaching anti-American hate. And yet the USAID officer in charge told me as a Green Beret, well, we're just building radio stations. We're just handing out food. That's our job, to just be humanitarian. No. We need to realign their mission and line it up with the president's foreign policy vision.
This isn't just inefficient, it's downright frustrating when the vast money flow doesn't reach intended targets. The question Waltz poses indirectly to viewers is, why continue blindly throwing money at one thing when it doesn't accomplish the goal? He provides a startling example. While stationed in the Middle East, he witnessed firsthand the absurdity of Misguided Aid, a radio station funded by the USAID, hijacked by a mullah, fueling anti-American sentiment. It's not just, about dollars lost, but misaligned objectives. The audience, I believe, is forced to reconsider what efficiency and reform in government spending actually mean. At the end of the day, most Americans probably agree that streamlining these processes and cutting unnecessary bureaucratic fluff serves everyone better. All this sets up for, I guess you'd call it, a broader discussion on the relationship between government and private enterprise in ensuring national security and addressing global challenges. Is Musk's role the key to achieving this, or is it ushering in new risks? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Are you on board with the idea of disrupting the traditional methods and embracing, dare I say, more innovative solutions? Is Musk's role a necessary reform or a slippery slope? Tell me what you're thinking down in the comments below. Your comments might just spark the next wave of discussion.